Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining Tanique and I as we present to you how the Power Platform can aid user adoption for finance and operations projects. But before we get onto that, we would like to give a big shout out to our key sponsors, namely Script Runner, who is the number one for PowerShell management, as well as DQ Global, who is driving data quality. We also want to give a big shout out to Proximal 3, who is, leading in the Microsoft's consulting and specialists area. T, would you like to continue with our sponsors, please?
Of course, a massive shout out to Redspire, Agilicis, and Itachi Solutions, and a huge shout out to Mark and Ian and the volunteers for putting this amazing platform together. Over to you, Latoya.
All right, so guys, we're going to be doing the usual get to know you a little bit. Who are we as speakers? So for myself, I am a mom of two millennials, a 16 and a 15-year-old. I love sci-fi series, namely Altered Carbon, and anything to do with vampires, I think I have read. All right. In addition to that, I'm now a huge fan of Korean/Japanese, series. I've become addicted to that, during, the lockdown that we're currently going through. And I love animes. It's a mom-son time I spend with my son. So he's an avid, anime lover. And it's February, February 14th coming around. Chocolates, I hate. So on a more professional level, yes, I am working as a strategic business change consultant at the moment, and I've held, a few past positions as, director of adoption and sustainment at Power Objects and head of learning and development at Itachi. Worked on a couple of international projects in Europe and in North America as well. So feel free to connect with us, after our sessions. If you've got any questions, shout us out on LinkedIn. My LinkedIn details are there, and as well on Twitter. So my Twitter handle is available. And ask us questions, let us know what you think of the session and reach out to us. Tanique, over to you.
Thank you, Latoya, for the amazing intro of yourself. Okay, so I'm Tanique, as Latoya mentioned, and I currently work for Power Objects as a learning consultant. Okay, I've got a background story, brain fog then, of the computer software industry, mostly app development, and also I've worked in the housing industry. I participate in hackathons and I also host them to aid obviously with customer experience. I like driving big trucks, those big heady store-bought trucks. I like driving those. I've got a black belt in kickboxing. I love to bake. I'm a mom of two. So yeah, the full works. So shout me out on LinkedIn, and also I'm available on Twitter. As you can see, my handles are below. So after this session, feel free to reach out to us and anything if you don't understand, or if anything you want, just connect with us and we'll be happy to help. Thank you. Over to you, Latoya.
All right. Thanks, Tanique. A variety in personality, one's kickboxing and the other is, Japanese animes and hating chocolate, etc. But that is what our presentation, will be about. We're co-hosting, and we've put together this agenda for you. And so what we have got planned is, we're going to take the time to do a little bit of analysis. What is user adoption? And then we're going to try to, kind of like set the foundation with a brief overview of FNO. So Tanique is going to come in and she is, going to take us through the new kid on the block, which is, the Power Platform, right? And then in addition to that, based on experience and, our number of years in the industry and working on implementations, she's going to be taking us through, a few of the challenges, and things that we have experienced and frustrations that we have gone through. And then she is going to break that down for us in terms of what can the Power Platform actually do? What's the magic of it all? And then I'm going to come back in with, what are the key takeaways from a user adoption perspective? What are the best practices? What can we do? What are the things we need to look out for, etc. Right? But before we get ahead of ourselves, I would just like, to take us through that. Yeah, we did a survey, all right? And we sent out the question, what is user adoption, right? And we got a few results. It was really a quick thing in terms of you got 30 seconds in one word, what is user adoption? And so we got like a variety of answers. User adoption means different things to different people dependent on their situation and experience with the change. And so we got words like, user adoption. It's all about embracing change. It's about challenging. It's about having things, whether it be knowledge or technology that is usable, right? And then we also got other words, around analytics, right? What does it mean? What's the interpretation of it? What does it all boil down to, right? We also got things around innovation. It's all about, having a product, it's about behavior. It's about capabilities, what can we do really, right? And then it's an opportunity as well to look at life cycle. What does it mean from the beginning to the end? What is user adoption? What should that life cycle look like? But what we actually want to do to keep the focus of this presentation, we want to share with you our interpretation of user adoption. And so for us, user adoption is the process by which new users become accustomed to a product or service and decide to keep using it. It's also where the users only adopt a product if it helps them achieve a goal of theirs. So it's the ability for us to actually, point out that big what's in it for me scenario and paint that picture for the user. So what that actually means is us being able to, accompany the users to not go back to the old ways of doing things. So the old Excel sheet that we all know that, we've all participated in implementations to get rid of. Yeah, how do we keep them stay, in terms of get rid of them? How do we not let them come back? How do we let the change actually stick, right? And then we also need to look in, how do we put in place measures to successfully help users to transition from the old to the new ways, all right? But we also need to, put all of that on what I would call foundation, whether it be practical, or theoretical. And this is where we now look to align project and change management, but understanding that each has its role. And so, project management is what we use to get the job done, whereas change management gets new behaviors adopted. So we need to understand that project management isn't change management. And so what we're saying as well is user adoption affects the ROI, which is the return on investment of every project. And if that is the case, then the ROI of adoption is the ROI of the project. And so if that is the case, we now need to look at what's actually happening. What are the numbers saying? Is this what is actually happening? So we took some time and we did a bit of research in terms of finding out, what's out there in the market, what is happening. And so here, in terms of, this image, it is frightening, guys, because if the return on investment of projects is linked to its user adoption strategies, why are our projects still failing? And so this image is kind of like it's frightening, it's a frightening revelation of the success of our work, because we're still struggling to build and maintain systems which are successfully adopted. All right. And based on the image that you can see, all right, it's saying that projects are 6 times more likely to be successful, where there is effective change management practices in place, meaning adoption is the end result. So, a successful project implementation is reinforced by sustainable user adoption. So, what does this mean with the FNO implementation? So, we've looked at, the numbers, and we've looked at, the definition of user adoption. But what is it to FNO? And so this is where we now want to do a quick overview, just to kind of like remind ourselves of what the role of an FNO implementation is supposed to be. And it's supposed to be where it addresses core enterprise functions. So it gives the users, the organization, the foundation required to run a successful business, right? And then it gives, end-to-end solutions to cover all major departments. So this is departments in terms of teams, etc., across the business. All right. Now, F&O, as a block or as a solution, now has 4 major blocks. So we have got the commerce pillar, we've got the HR pillar, and then F&O, as we currently know it, has broken out. It's spread out now into supply chain management and finance. So maybe in a couple months' times, you won't hear F&O anymore. Maybe you'll just hear finance. And so those 4 core blocks, is what we're saying will provide an end-to-end solution, for the business. All right. So what it's supposed to do here is that it helps the companies, to streamline their financial operations from a single source of truth. But what does this mean for project implementations as we know them today? Compared to CRM projects, FinOps projects can last for years, when we consider the development and the requirements gathering, and then the customizations, that we put in place, so that every client can have what is specific to them, meet their own objectives, et cetera, et cetera. What actually happens is that sometimes we lose visibility of the objectives, right, and of the people who are actually involved. And what happens then is that that's where the user adoptions issues arise, and of course, it arises as a result of the gaps which do exist in FinOps solutions. So what I'm going to do now, it's just to ask Tanique to come back in and to take us through, that whole view of the gaps that exist and what we can do when it comes to challenges that arise. So, Tanique.
Thank you, Latoya, for that wonderful overview of FinOps, and also showing obviously how what adoption is. Okay, so finance and operation, as we know it, is not 100% vanilla. And oftentimes there are business processes that Latoya has highlighted that needs development. And obviously to sort some of these gaps out, yeah, we do this through deployable packages created in Visual Studio. Okay, so whilst we can utilize these development capabilities within finance and operations, we can also utilize the Power Platform to aid with these gaps. Okay, so we're going to look at the Power Platform now, which is a new kid on the block, and just some of its benefits and how it can aid the Power Platform. Sorry, finance and operation.
Mm.
Okay, so the Power Platform, what is it? And as I've always told my children, the Power Platform is a Microsoft superhero business application, right? It's a development platform that it's powerful, it's low code, it allows user to design and use custom business applications across various devices. The Power Platform consists of four main components. These are Power BI, which is the analytics tool, which can be used for like operational reports within finance and operations. We've got Power Apps, which we can create Power Apps, either Canvas app or model-driven apps. We got also the portal, and we use these to simplify the data entry into finance and operations. Okay, we've got Power Automate. We can utilize the FNO connector to streamline work and workflow processes within our master tables within the finance and operation. We've got PVA, our chatbot. Okay, so we use this as to create support tasks and integrate with our training wiki to better aid with productivity and increase efficiency within the staff, or for example, within people onboarding on our projects. Okay. And to make this possible, we've got the underlying components, which are AI Builder, data connectors, and Dataverse. Okay. So AI Builder, as we know it, is a turnkey solution that users can use and also developers. We've got data connectors, and I always say these act like a bridge between your data source and your app or your workflow. Okay, we've got Dataverse, which everything sits on, and this just brings everything and marry everything together on the Power Platform, which again is a scalable data service that lets users securely store and manage their data from multiple sources and integrate that data into their business application. So the Power Platform is amazing and it's very, very flexible. Okay, so let's look at some more magic of this wonderful Power Platform. Okay, so and as I was saying, the Dataverse, as I said, it's the heart of the Power Platform. And when you start with the Dataverse, I like to think of the rest of the platform and everything just falling into place. Okay, so dual write, for those who don't know dual write, who are not familiar with it, dual write is it's built in FinOps and designed to work with the common data service. Common data service and Dataverse are the same thing. So bear with me, the names have recently changed, I think last year or something. So I'm very old school. So just bear with me there. Okay. So
Yeah.
this functionality provides real-time or near real-time bidirectional integration between finance and operation and the common data service. Okay, perfect example. If you work within, say, HR, for example, and there's an HR application that's been implemented. So if you deploy that HR application on, say, the same Dataverse as your customer engagement, then you'll be able to have that communication between the two applications. We've got another thing called virtual entities. Okay, so virtual entities exposes your public data and all of your finance data into the CDS, Common Data Service. And there are a number of ways that you can use these virtual entities once data is available in CDS. Okay, a perfect example is that I've seen it used and is, for example, if we are syncing data over Dataverse, for example, we can create like or extend the app, the customer service app, for example, to include additional information about our customers, such as credit limits. And within the housing industry, what I've seen, we've used it to surface like dunning letters for council tax, for those who know about that process, to within the customer portal, which I think is really, really amazing. Okay, and another example that we might use to leverage these virtual entities again is is, for example, if you are, I don't know, a customer, um, supplier, for example, for procurement, you can utilize the portal that is part of the Power Apps, and you can surface your details back and forth between the finance and
Mhm.
operation and the Power Platform. Okay,
Yeah.
great. Another thing is the data lake. okay, as you can see from the image. So finance and operation use data lake for AI and analytics scenarios. So we can use embedded Power BI technology to provide rich interactive visual for users. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take you through some of the challenges that, we have faced on some of our finance and operation projects. Okay. And some of these you've probably have or haven't. So these are just what we've been through. We're just highlighting. So within finance and operation, one of the challenges that we faced was the SSRS reporting. Oh my days. One of the main issue, for
Yeah.
example, yes, we had disconnected data sources for organizations that are a little behind or midway on their digital transformation. So this will normally have, we see data silos and the technology behind it can be a bit outdated or lacking. So with the new way of working being in the cloud, sometimes we have seen organizations were not able to really bring or marry their data together accurately. Okay.
Mhm.
We've got a lack of flexibility. So where these reports need a lot more human effort for the generation and the analysis of data. And I don't know if you've ever used SSRS reports, but obviously if you haven't got the skill set, you have to rely on a developer to do this for you. And then they'd have to publish this so you can have access to it. And it's very time consuming. Okay, the user experience. So the SSRS interface is outdated, and we don't have control over the appearance or even the parameters within this report. So as previously stated, you may have someone in the accounting team, for example, who wants to see operational data. They would have to log into the system, search for this report, and then run it. And it's just long. It's time consuming. Nobody wants to do that. We live in a microwave society where everyone wants everything at their fingertips. Okay,
Yeah.
so the solution that we found is within Power BI. And then from the screenshot, you can see the amazing difference between the two. Okay. So using Power BI has proven and improve user engagement in the sense of user adaptability. So Power BI makes data more attractive. So user wants to engage and learn more. And, it's the fun aspect of it. Okay. We've got greater accessibility. Okay, so the Power Platform is able to take organizations' legacy data, marry it with the new finance data that we see on the screen without compromising the integrity of the data and the technology that it sits on. Okay,
Yeah.
so the Power Platform, you're able to surface your data wherever it lives. If you're on a phone, mobile phone, your laptop, or your desktop. Okay, we also have data alignment. Okay, consistent and accurate data alignment in a timely manner in the sense of, okay, you've got no data loss. And this is one of the amazing thing about data lake. Okay, you can count on it to to keep your data the way it is. Okay, another challenge that we've seen is the finance exchange rates within finance and operations. Okay, they're very limited. I think it's 20 or 22. Okay, so for example, companies like the Central European Bank who trades and interacts with different currencies. 20 or 22 is just not enough, right? So they're going to need more on a daily basis when they're pulling in the exchange rate to do their trades, for example. We've seen this as a limitation geographically, whereas I said the companies or like the big banks, they're not able to get these information on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got ease of access, which is quite difficult. Either we are going to have to get a developer to come and develop a platform for us to use to interrogate a web service somewhere, get more data. We've got Orlando, which is an out-of-the-box um, exchange rate ISV that we could use, but then you'd have to pay a subscription fee to that person or to that company. And again, that is a cost that I'm sure any project can do without. Okay, so we found a solution within the Power Platform in this terms of Microsoft Power Automate, okay, which has improved flexibility for users in the sense of we've got increased exchange rate. We're out of the box provided us with a 20 exchange rates. We have the option to incorporate as many here as required without additional subscription fees. From ISVs, we've got accurate conversion rate. So Power Automate will accurately update or master record within finance and operations. And we've got reduced costs in the sense of, and this is open for interpretation as well, in the sense of we've got our D365 license within finance and operations, and we've already got our Office 365 license, which Flow is a part of, and it's already provided this access. So, whilst we've come up with these challenges, we've also seen where the magic of the Power Platform has assisted us and aid with all these challenges that we have. So now I'm going to hand over back to the lovely Latoya to show you some key takeaways and some adoption best practices of the Power Platform.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much, Tanique, for that handover. And just highlighting for us, the role that the Power Platform, can play in enhancing our FinOps implementations, and so yeah, now I would like to, take us down a journey and to just look at, you know, what does it mean to get value from your Power Platform implementation? As Tanique pointed out, the Power Platform can aid in improved user engagement, and that is if we do not run before we can walk. And the Power Platform, the magic of the Power Platform is that it allows us to do exactly that, where we can grow into the change, and we don't have to do everything at once, that is just the whole point of it, it's to take the time to make things better, right? And that is taking the time to clearly identify, how we're going to go about it and what it is we actually, want to do with the implementation and the end result that we want to get. We also need to kind of like understand as well that training is, training only is not the solution. Okay. In addition to that, all right, what we also need to consider when we're going to get value from our, Power Platform implementation is, are we leveraging the best tools for the business? Meaning, have we taken the time to understand the customer's business completely? And how are we going to do that? Well, what we actually need to do is to, kind of like take time to revisit the objective and the purpose of the implementation. Ask those kind of like uncomfortable questions. Is it to fix a back office pain point or a customer facing issue? What is the end result, you would like to achieve? Do you want to revamp in-house procedures? Do you want to provide a single source of truth, and for whom? So as consultants, when we're implementing, new technologies, and then we want, because I know that we all want our work to be kind of like maintained and sustained. But in order for us to do that, we need to take the time, to ask those uncomfortable questions, right? In addition to that, we need to take the time to know our audience. And what that means is that we keep the user at the heart of the story, at the center, where they should be and where, they've always been, And so what we need to look at as well is that user adoption increases as we identify the value and ease of use over time of the new technology. It's using it frequently, often, pulling it apart, breaking it, revisiting it, et cetera, putting in, the time to build those communities of, knowledge and those communities of interaction. All right. And that starts from, the very first, what I would call chain of engagement. And that is, from the relationship that a functional consultant, speaking from experience, all right, that a functional consultant can have with the trainer who is going to be the face and the, most oftentimes the messenger of the change, And so what I'm saying, where that is concerned is that if the consultant, projects any bias against the implementation in terms of maybe he's not happy with the third party that has been identified, to do some form of the implementation. Maybe the requirements gathering hasn't been clear and complete. Maybe there is scope creep, all of those things, can come across as well at the end of the road when it comes to training, in the form of not being able to answer the why of the implementation, because, we haven't gotten that security and support, right, from the implementer or the developer. Okay. We also need to think about, the internal back office and front office, relationships, are those in head office, whether it be in the HR or whether it be in the procurement team, what is their end goal? What have they gotten from the implementation? Are they getting value from the technology? Are they being more productive? Are they seeing where their workload, has decreased, etc. Right? And last but by no means least, we also need to think about those external customers and suppliers. And here I'm talking about how do we, support and help our clients, right, to communicate their message of change and adoption to their external stakeholders, right? Can the external stakeholders see the value in the implementation? Can the external stakeholders benefit, from this change? Can they see where, renewed processes make it more viable for them to continue working with our client? All these roles play a key part in the overall adoption of any successful project. Okay. But we're looking at getting value, and we're looking at the challenges and the solutions, and we've defined user adoption, etc. But we also need to consider what are the human factors that affect user adoption. Earlier on in the presentation, I said that the ROI of adoption is the ROI of the project.
Mm.
And what that means is that, things are never going to go as planned. But there are certain things that we definitely, if we plan it, appropriately, and at least have it in our scope of vision, we can adjust, when those waves of change come along. And the first one is the speed of adoption. And what that means is how quickly, okay, are people up and running on the new systems, on the new processes, on the new job roles? Yeah, because we need to be clearly aware of those things, right? I mean, how are KPIs affecting job roles? Have job roles increased, decreased? The processes, do we now have dual processes in place, and instead of, quick and dirty, the new systems, is it efficient? Can we get in and out as quickly as possible? And then we also need to think about ultimate utilization. How many employees are demonstrating buy-in, and are actually using the new solution? Remember, it's important that they decide to use the solution. Yeah. And then we also need to think about proficiency. And proficiency here, means how well are individuals performing compared to the level expected. Yeah. And, it's how quickly, how many, how well, and these are the things we need to measure against, when it comes to ensuring that user adoption can become sustainable. Yeah. So remember what we said, adoption is when a new user becomes accustomed to and decides to keep on using a new technology until it becomes a habit. And so, what that actually means is that if we implement effective change management, yeah, that will allow us to decrease the uncertainty, or at least to be able to, face, the uncertainty a bit more prepared, helping people to deal with the anxiety of the change, helping people to, deal with the frustrations that might come along as a result of the change. Those are things that we need to plan for and be able to adjust as quickly, via the use of the project management strategies as well as change management strategies. And so, what we're saying to tie it all up, because we are totally of, the idea that the Power Platform superhero can play its role in user adoption, is that, Power Platform provides confidence. And some of you, at times might have been able to relate to this image here, as I've now brought it up. All right. And so what this means is that, Power Platform can, reassure, the technologically challenged. Power Platform isn't ageist. And so, Tom of 50 years, all right, who has been in the company for 30 can perform at just the same level as Jerry, who's been in the company for 2 years, and he's a graduate, and he's up with his Instagram and Twitter handles. Both of them, thanks to Power Platform, can have the same level of confidence in getting the job done. We're also saying that the Power Platform provides growth. And, growth here is growth in multiple ways. It's growth in mindset, okay? It is growth in, what we can call the can-do culture of possibilities, being able to work from anywhere. And what this actually helps, to do is that Power Platform with that, accessibility, all right, and mindset, all right, is where each individual, all right, can be acknowledged for what they bring to the table, right? And instead of feeling as if the change is being, done to them, they can actually actively participate and decide on the change. And that further, underpins sustained adoption. In addition to that, we're also saying, that the Power Platform provides ease of use and upscale. I mean, we have never, seen a platform that you can access information literally from anywhere. The Power Platform meets you where you are in your knowledge and in your skills. So you don't need any additional technical knowledge, right? It actually accesses your skill set, which you already have. Yeah. What you already have available is what the Power Platform builds on. So it encourages confidence, growth. It encourages scope for development. Okay, and a great example of that, and some of you might know of him, is Joe Camp, who, has changed industries thanks to the Power Platform and his interest in, developing his ideas, etc., and learning new things, And so we just want to round this session up by saying a huge thank you, and we're going to hand over to Tanique so that she can thank our sponsors and end our session for the afternoon.
Amazing. Well done, Latoya. Oh my God, a Power Platform. From can't do to can do, up and away. Okay, amazing. So I would like to give a massive shout out again to our sponsors and a huge thank you to Mark, Ian, and the volunteers for putting this amazing session together so we all could come and, embark and also learn, from each other. So massive thank you again. Please feel free to reach out to us on our socials, Twitter or on LinkedIn. And it's been a plum pleasing pleasure. So thank you.
All right. Awesome. Have a good afternoon, and we'll see you on the social media. Cheers.
Bye.